and welcome to How Are You Holding Up, a mental health podcast by the depressed, for the depressed. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lindsey.
And Lindsey, I'd like to ask you, how are you holding up?
Well, Chris, it's funny you ask. No, I'm actually very emotional as we record this podcast. I just read some of your emails that we got, and we're gonna touch on that in a minute. But it was just really overwhelming for me, and it was good for me to hear those. And Chris, how are you holding up?
I'm, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not even like, I mean, no, I'm not okay, but I'm also like, it's funny. I've been withdrawing a lot lately, just from like how I feel and where I'm at mentally and emotionally, and I kind of just get I don't know. I'm in a mental health state of just I've given up
Apathy?
and it's okay. It's what yeah I mean it's a little apathetic, but I'm ambivalent about my apathy. Where I'm like, this isn't a good thing, followed by, yeah, but what is it? It's fine. It's whatever. Just go with it for now.
Mm.
So I think we all eventually hit a point of that where you've been on the struggle bus for so long that you kind of just merge into into the seat and like you become part of the bus.
Do
But
you find that maybe part of it is your medication? It's the wrong dose or the wrong meds for you?
could be. But it's one of those things where I don't have a fair estimation
Right.
as far as
Yeah, it's hard with meds, it's hard.
yeah.
Is it the meds?
I
Is
mean,
it
I
the
knew I was
year? Is it the you know?
yeah, yeah.
What is it?
Exactly. It's a combination of is it everything that's been happening? Is it am I emotionally just dead inside? Am I emotionally overwhelmed? Am I tired? Have I been
Could
sleeping
be.
enough? Which, as far as I know, I have. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird place to be in.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, it is what it is, and that's okay. But all that aside, thank you all so much for listening last week. I know that we'd been gone for quite a while. Wow, I can't even speak.
Quite some while. My favorite song.
But the response and the love that we got from all y'all, it was impressive and incredible, and we cannot thank you enough. It always just blows both our minds every time we get an email or a message or a comment or anything. It's always just like, holy crap, these are real
Yeah.
people.
It's really lovely. I have a hard time even reaching out to, like, family and friends, I was telling Chris, but you guys reaching out to strangers on the internet who do a podcast is really cool and brave and lovely and makes my life better, so thank you for that, makes both of our lives better, thank you for that. I cried
Mhm.
because, it's just so good to hear when someone's like, "I was listening to this episode, and it just made me break down because it was so good to hear other people talking realistically about depression," because it just is it's portrayed poorly in almost all the media, and nobody really wants to talk about it because the stigma is weird, and so I always felt like a huge sense of relief when I would see one video on YouTube or hear a podcast by somebody who, like, was talking just normally and not like a weirdo about depression, and so the fact that we can give that back and that, you guys are also experiencing that is a tremendous tremendous thing for me, and, we also learned something new from one of our emails.
Yes. Uh, one of the emails that was sent mentioned that a different type of depression that neither of us had actually ever heard of, which we will, I think we can have an episode just based on the different types of depression, but uh, yeah, we were both just like, holy crap, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Uh, we have no words to really express just like the way that mental health awareness and the way that like understanding and learning about it, it is a soft science. It is not something that is concrete and this is the end all be all. This is how it is. This is how it shall be. This is how it always will be. It's changing. It is constantly shifting and changing forms. And when you think you've got a good handle and you think you understand it, that's when it does something to completely and totally make you realize that no, you got
Yeah.
nothing.
The fact that the fact that, like, this huge, broad experience that so many of us are having gets brought down and distilled into one word is depression. It's just not enough. So, we learned it's called lone twin or twinless twin, depression, and it doesn't get a lot of press. And so we do want to bring somebody on who either has had the experience of this depression or somebody who treats this type of depression because we don't have any experience with it. And I think Googling it isn't really like, and us talking about it isn't a thing. So, but thank you so much for
Mhm.
that email. We're going to be looking into it and hopefully doing an episode on that. So, this week we wanted to talk about, because we've done this before where we had an episode on the stigma of depression and discussing depression and thus not believing you actually have depression. But this last year we have seen such a shift. That's, I think, one of the few good things that 2020 has done
Yes.
is the conversation that we are now having finally about depression and the realities of it, and the fact that children can get it, teenagers can get it. Doesn't matter your ethnicity, your sexual preference, your income. It doesn't matter your gender or your race. I think I already said that. It hits
Mm,
us all, and different
yeah.
ways because of different situations within our system. But we all are getting hit by it, and there's a lot. There's a high number of suicides from all of these groups, and it's just been increasing.
Yes. It's been something that we're starting to see now, especially in the medical community, obviously being as overworked and underappreciated as doctors, nurses, psychiatrists, psychologists, you name it, they're overwhelmed and overburdened, and the attention of their mental and physical well-being is something that just kind of gets pushed to the side normally, where they just go, well, they're trained to handle this. They can they're tough. They can handle this. Yeah, sure, you're given a certain amount of training and you understand the situation that you're in, but it doesn't matter. You still got to take care of your mental health.
Yeah. I think in the past, it's something I've seen echoed in almost every email we get too. So I know it's just not me and Chris, but that it feels
Mhm.
almost like a luxury or over the top to be like, "Oh, I have depression. I'm so depressed."
Mhm.
It feels like, oh, it's
Or you
dramatic.
need a reason for it.
Right? Like, "Oh my gosh, like, the only reason I can be depressed is because I've had this huge loss," or whatever, and while those are real things, having depression on the day to day just because and you can't pinpoint it is so confusing and so difficult.
Mhm.
But we're seeing now with COVID, and people are still figuring out the science why, um, that first of all, as humans, we are not supposed to be separated from each other this much. We are from our probably creation and evolution on this planet, we've always been creatures that needed to have tribes, being groups together, and
Yep.
rely on each other for resources. And I don't think we all realize in this state of where we are right now emotionally, how much we took it for granted. Seeing people getting together, and the trickle down effect of having to stay separated from one another during celebrations of your birthday, New Year's, a death. something new, exciting at work, but you can't go and celebrate with your friends, something small, just having a hard day of work, going after and to the bar and getting some fries and a soda or a drink. You can't do these little things we all took for granted, and it's starting to wear on
Yeah.
people, let alone the massive things that have been happening with job loss, not having enough money to get health, to get help for your health, go to the doctor, go to the therapist, losing our jobs as creative people, because like it's so hard. But we're finally seeing a
Yeah.
conversation. We did a podcast not so long ago talking about the positives of depression because we were trying to find the light in being depressed. And there's not a ton, to be honest. We struggled
No.
with that podcast, but one of the things that we mentioned was the possibility that depression, not for every situation obviously, but in general, that maybe depression is a signal that there's something wrong either in your life or in the society that we are in, and it's a warning signal, or your body trying to let you know that, okay, like something is deeply wrong. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
always correct, obviously, because but soft science, as we speak about soft science, like that's one of the things that articles are being written about right now. Look at us go.
Yeah, it is incredibly impressive to see that, um, at least in certain aspects of physical health, that depression can manifest as a symptom of a condition, even if it is not something that necessarily, it's almost a connect the dots of symptoms leading to a giant picture of whatever it is that could be ailing you. And if you can track down that, well, this person was depressed, they stopped eating, or they stopped exercising. Why did they stop exercising? Was it because of the depression? Or was the depression caused because they stopped exercising? Why did they stop exercising? Well, they were tired. Why are they tired? Then you start asking questions, you start digging deeper, and you get a diagnosis, hopefully,
Yeah.
if you're in a country that actually has good health care. Whoops, did I just say that out loud?
Yeah, it's a struggle here for sure.
Mhm.
And as we've said in the past, we're all just little chemistry sets, and
Yes.
the chem- we're just now learning about how stress affects humans, how sleep
Oh,
deprivation,
yeah.
affects humans, how and I know that we've talked in the past we talked about seasonal depression, and now I'm starting to wonder if in the winter in the past, especially for people who live in places that get a lot of snow and it's harder to see one another, like I wonder if part of the seasonal depression is the fact that besides the darkness but that you're just a little more separated from people and that it's harder to do things,
Mm,
like that's an extra stress, like there's so much we don't know, and that maybe potentially COVID-19 and this awful separation and quarantining that we're all dealing with, maybe some cool science will come from it that will help us and help future generations with what we call as mental illness and depression. I know it really hurt me. I don't know how else to say it, but it hurt me to see how lacking in empathy so many people seem to be. And I don't know if it's just the news
yeah.
portrayal, because I know news can get, you know, wild, and it's news, so they want it to be sensational.
Yeah.
But we are seeing that in the past, people that we looked up to, maybe religious leaders or government leaders like presidents, and hell, even in the past, celebrities, they just
Yeah.
really are out of touch or just seem to not care. And then just the general population, at least for me personally, it just seems like America just does not care about itself. It just feels like people
No.
are fine with being cruel, with saying, well, it's just the people who have a weak immune system who will die from COVID-19. And that's a weird place to be if people are leaning on that. This morning I went to a Zoom memorial for my friend's grandmother, and
Mhm.
seeing 25 people on this Zoom call because they aren't able to come together, and hearing this wonderful story of her life, this fabulously interesting woman in her late 90s, and how she touched so many of their lives and my life. And she got COVID, and she already had health problems. It probably wasn't going to be so much longer, but that could have been 5 months more or a year more of life. And because she got COVID
Yeah.
19, she went downhill, and nobody could be with her when she passed. And what an excruciating thing that no one, they will go to the end of their days not knowing what it was like for her to be alone in that. And I know that would happen, of course, in the past. People die when they're alone, but just the fact that, like, there wasn't an option. And part of the reason is because people weren't wearing masks. It's a very simple thing, and it seemed like such a political statement if you were going to wear a mask or not. And it was like, well, it's just like even if COVID-19 is a is fake, right? Let's just say that, what if it's fake? What's the harm in wearing a mask that could potentially save someone's life? And the fact that people were
Yeah.
fighting it so much, it, like, hurt me. And I know that it hurt other people. And you don't want to think of the human race as this selfish, self-serving group of people. You want to, in the end of the day, hope that most of us want the best for everybody. It doesn't always work out that way, but you would expect that. And to not see the country pull together. In fact, we're more divisive, and it seems more cruel than ever. And
Yeah.
it's a hard time for, I think, all of us. So it's really been
I think
interesting as a scientist to, like, look at everything. What were we gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think that might actually also be one of the contributing factors to my general malaise, is seeing that dark side of humanity and seeing how divisive, how persistent, and how deep rooted it is. It's I used to really like hold strong and feel confident in calling myself a humanist and really believing deep down in my core that humanity as a whole is capable of great things, amazing things. In less than a century, we went from barely taking off in flight to going to the moon. Within a span of 60 years, we did that. As a species, we did that. We discovered cures for diseases. We created charities and social programs in which to better educate and take care of each other. And within that same century, we saw it all kind of dashed upon the rocks. It's it's hard to keep a positive spin on any of it. Um, when you see how little people care about trying their best, because it comes down ultimately to, yeah, that selfishness is so hard to negate. I I saw live footage, like live feed from this weekend. People were going to the beach in droves because it was a long weekend. And it's like majority of them weren't wearing masks. They were cloistered together, close and mingling, and I just sit there just like, you're you're kidding me. 1 in 3 people in Los Angeles, they're thinking now. 1 in 3 people in Los Angeles has been exposed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or have contracted. 14,000 new cases every day, more deaths than not to mention spikes in workplaces, and with the holiday seasons, there was a spike after that. It's enough to really just drive you crazy, because how else can you how else can you look at this world, this species that we are a member of, and try to understand why?
Yeah.
It's the hardest part by far, is to be somebody who asks why.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Um not having an answer really bothers me. It's something that's always bothered me my entire life. I've always asked for answers. And if I couldn't get an answer, then I would find an answer. But this is the first time that I can genuinely say there's no good answer for this. There's just this.
Yep,
But that's what we've got to deal with, and we'll deal with it. And we'll get through it. We will keep on keeping on, right?
that's right. And I wanted to mention, again, every once in a while we talk about the fact that our podcast was created to inspired by Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers'
Yeah.
Neighborhood specifically, and just kind of how he lived his life. And we wanted to be not just look for the helpers in the world, but be the helpers in the world. And we lost Mrs. Rogers this month.
Yes.
And I just wanted to take a moment and, I don't know, send a thank you out into the universe, whether you think there's life after Earth or not, to that wonderful couple that they were and how much help they
Yeah.
did. And I hope that while we're all going through this, we can also find ways, little or big, to help one another teach empathy, teach ourselves how to be more empathetic and patient, and be the change that we want to be truly. And I truly believe that this can be better for it. We can be better.
Yep. I agree with that. She continued on Fred's legacy of making sure that his words were never corrupted or misused or twisted in any way. She was so outspoken about about any form of injustice, and she will be missed. She's a pretty awesome lady, fittingly for a man like Fred. So
Yeah.
that yeah.
She lived to 92. Joanne Rogers was amazing. Um,
Yeah.
and so are we all. And we're going to get through this, and it's going to be okay one way or the other. We did want to mention that we found something cool. Well, Chris found something really cool.
Yes. So while looking around for resources on mental health and whatnot, we discovered that the Los Angeles County of Mental Health, the Department of Mental Health, has a butt ton of resources for mental health in terms of, especially during COVID times. So something that if you are struggling right now and you want uh, those kind of resources, check with your county department of mental health if you live in the United States, or see if there is a any other resources that are in your area that are online, and some of them are even free. Like for example, if you live in Los Angeles County, Los Angeles Department of Mental Health has gotten a some sort of deal or whatnot with the app Headspace for like mindfulness and meditation, and it's actually really cool. I've used it in the past. I'm not good at all with meditation, ADHD brain, but it has helped me fall asleep many times. So at least I can say it's a good sleep aid.
Good to know. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking right now at some of the links that they provide. We'll have the link, by the way, for our
Hmm.
specific LA County Department of Health. But I'm just looking at some of the stuff they're talking about in one of these, and it's really kind of lovely. It's this one that specifically is coping with the loss of a loved one. And it says, adding to everything else are your worries about the future, job losses, overdue rents, mortgages, medical bills, lost health insurance, and reduced retirement funds. For many families, these additional challenges in your life can intensify the sadness, grief, and loss that come with the death of a loved one and can make everything feel worse. And it's just so true. So know that we're all going through this. It might not feel like it. I feel alone a lot of the time. I feel lost a lot of the time. But I'm proud of our listeners, and we love you very much.
Yes. We love you all. You are amazing. Keep being amazing. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, listen, we're trying to get better at the social media thing. Sometimes I'll post some meme that like kind of gave me a smile or a chuckle. So we do not blast stuff on social media. Um, if you don't feel like following us, whatever. But it's kind of fun because it's like I get to I love memes, so sharing that kind of stuff with you. We also post our a clip of our episode on Instagram, and we share I think a full episodes on Facebook. So if you can't if you don't feel like
Yeah.
going on Spotify or many of the other podcast places, you can go there. We do have a
Yeah.
Patreon, which always made us feel
Yeah.
guilty.
Still does.
Yeah,
So,
but it helps us with the website and maintaining, and hopefully in the future we will continue our experimentations. I know B12 has been helpful for some of you. I heard back, so that was a cool experiment. And anyhow, we have that. So
this is the worst outro we've ever done.
this is really bad. It's not that
I
bad.
think honestly,
It's not
no,
that
it's not that
bad.
bad. Honestly, it's
It's
I
just
think one
long.
of the best things that we could do is yeah, it's fine. But I love when we're both kind of in this headspace, because at this point this is who we really are, or we're just like, yeah, fuck it, let's just roll with it. We're all just dust in a void. It's great. Let's fucking do it.
I'm a Star of Dark,
I got
baby.
my head I got my helmet on. Let's ride this bike into the wind. Anyway, that's it for us this week. We
And
love
as
you.
always,
Don't
don't
tell
tell
us
us
to
to just
just
get
get
over
over
it.
it.